Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sadie Nash Leadership Project's Evening of Joy and Liberation. My name is Treasure Brooks, and I'm your MC for this evening. I'm also a 2016 alumna of SNLP's Ella Fellowship. Sadie Nash Leadership Project's mission is to strengthen, empower, and equip young women and gender-expansive youth of color as agents for change in their lives and in the world. We do this by providing critical extracurricular programming for Nashers, which is what we call our participants. In all of our programs, Sadie Nash uses the methodology of popular education to build community, critical consciousness, and college and career readiness for Nashers in New York City and Newark, New Jersey. The education and community support that I received through Sadie Nash helped me to become a trusted organizer within social movements that I cared about, teaching me how to connect people to resources and advocate for the most marginalized members of our society. Sadie Nash also empowered me to go after goals I did not see myself capable of before, like ever, like transferring to Harvard University, which is where I'll be graduating from this fall. More than ever, our country and our world needs the leadership of young Black and Brown women and gender-expansive youth. We are so excited for you to meet Nashers and learn more about how Sadie Nash Leadership Project is seeding and supporting their growth in leadership. We have an awesome evening lined up for you. We'll be introducing you to our amazing Petticoat Award winners, Gloria Edem and Elaine Golin. And then you'll hear from Nashers in conversation with the two amazing leaders who are impacting our lives right now, Dr. Kizmikias Corbett and Janelle Rodriguez. We'll also announce our first Alumna Award winner, Ayana Salam. But before we begin, we'd like to start our program by acknowledging that this virtual event celebrating Sadie Nash takes place on the homelands of the Lenni Lenape people, land that was never ceded or surrendered. We acknowledge our complicity in settler colonialism, its present occupation and violent legacy, and recognize the sovereignty of these Indigenous peoples who have lived in kinship with and as stewards of this land, water, air for thousands of years. This past year, the triple pandemic of COVID-19, white supremacy, and racism and economic crisis heavily impacted our communities, especially Nashers and their families. At this time, we'd like to take a moment of silence to honor those that we have lost and the lasting impact this has on our community. Most especially, we want to lift up the name of Shelly Ann Wheeler, a Nasher who we recently lost. The grief and sadness that we've borne collectively in the last year has been extremely heavy. And though we're turning the corner and there is hope ahead, we acknowledge the pain that many are still living with. This past year, amidst this difficulty, Sadie Nash has prioritized collective care. We've done that by providing 200 plus Nashers with emergency grants totaling over $50,000. Regularly offering sibling circle discussions for Nashers to connect outside of their programs, and we continue to expand opportunities for Nashers to share strategies for thriving amidst all that is happening. Sadie Nash is honored to have played such a critical role in the lives of Nashers and their families. As we acknowledge the collective lift of the last year, I want to make sure to shout out and thank the Sadie Nash staff for their incredible work. The team at Sadie Nash brought our programs online in no time at the onset of the pandemic and have continued to deliver high quality virtual programs all year long. I also want to make sure to thank our amazing and committed board of directors for their support and leadership. This evening is also possible because of supporters like you. We extend special gratitude to our sponsors who have made this evening possible. Our visionary sponsors are Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen & Katz LLP. At the Trailblazer level, we thank Helicon Collaborative, Kimberly Drew, Lauren Klein, Abby Levy, Jean-Marie O'Brien, and Eve Zakil Casimir, Jody J. Schwartz, and Cedradine Horsicki LLP. Our advocate sponsors include Mary Chan, Pam Cocker, Kristen Kusama-Hinte, Dopal Ashi McGruder, Jared Stark, and Armando D. Solis, Eve Uhalam, and Nicholas Polsky. We are so thankful that you all believe in the power of young women and gender-expansive youth. A gift to Sadie Nash is really a gift to our collective joy and liberation because Nashers are leading the way for us now. At any point during this evening, you can make a donation to support Sadie Nash Leadership Project's work by texting Nash Joy or 44321 and make a donation that supports Sadie Nash's programming in New York City and Newark. Again, that's Nash Joy and text 44 to 44321. And also stay tuned because after the amazing conversations with our honorees, we'll be doing a live ask and you'll have a chance then to really help us reach our fundraising goal. Before we begin our program, you may be asking, why joy and liberation? What do those two words mean to us at Sadie Nash Leadership Project? To live life in committed pursuit of joy and liberation for yourself and your community means that we are creating different, new, and transformative spaces that allow us to be our bold selves, that allow us to create new visions of what leadership looks like, that allow us to be focused on justice for everyone. We'd love for all of you to share what living committed to joy and liberation looks like in the chat. But now we move on to our Petticoat awardees. This year, we are excited to award the Petticoat Award to two amazing women. Why a petticoat, you ask? In the winter of 1902, Virginia's Sadie Nash lifted her skirt on a crowded trolley car in Nebraska and removed her petticoat to wrap it around a freezing infant. Her action garnered attention locally and in national press because of her impulse to take action, brush convention aside, and lead by example. Sadie Nash's great-granddaughter, Cecilia Clark, founded the organization in her name to support young women to be bold in their leadership. The Petticoat Award embodies that bold leadership, and this year, we honor Gloria Edem and Elaine Golin for their support in leadership. Gloria Edem is the founder of Well-Read Black Girl, a book club and online community that celebrates the uniqueness of Black literature and sisterhood. She has worked as a creative strategist for over 10 years at startup foundations and cultural institutions, including Kickstarter, the Webby Awards, and the New York Foundation for the Arts. She received the 2017 Innovators Award from the Los Angeles Times Book Prizes for her work as a literary advocate. Her first anthology, Well-Read Black Girl, Finding Our Stories, Discovering Ourselves, was published by Random House in 2018. Gloria has stepped up to provide Nashers with opportunities to take leadership at the Well-Read Black Girl Festival. But this year in particular, she helped us to raise critical funds by featuring Sadie Nash across her platforms. Thank you, Gloria.
Hello, my name is Gloria Edem, founder of the Well-Read Black Girl Book Club, and I'm so honored to receive the Petticoat Award from the Sadie Nash Leadership Project. It's such an honor to be part of a wonderful community that loves Blackness, that loves POC folks, that loves all people to come together and join in unity and collective harmony. I am honored because the Nashers are not only audacious, they are full of hope and joy, and they really represent the future. To all the Nashers listening, please continue to speak your truth. I encourage you to be who you are, full of joy and laughter and hope. I encourage you to continue to work on your activism and be your complete self in every situation, wherever you are in the world. And I also want to say thank you to the leadership that continues to pour into the Nasher community. Everyone, it's so important to be your best at every situation. So whether you fail or you succeed, at least you give it your all. And I think of Maya Angelou every time I am in a situation where I'm growing or evolving. And my favorite quote by her is, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive and do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." So I say that to you to continue to thrive and grow and have your own style, continue to give compassion to others, and love yourself fiercely. Thank you for this award. It's so beautiful. I will be hanging it up in my office and I'll be sharing it with everyone. Thank you again. I'm just so honored to be part of your family.
Thank you to Glory, and I feel you on doing it with style. Our next Petticoat awardee is Sadie Nash board member, Elaine Golin. Elaine is a partner in the litigation department at Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz, and has degrees not only in law, but in literature as well. She clerked for the Honorable Judge Sandra Lynch of the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit. Among other professional recognition, she has been named by Law Dragon as one of the 500 leading lawyers in the United States and is recognized by Benchmark Litigation as one of the top 250 women in the litigation teller. And she is a fierce advocate for women and girls. We are so proud that she has been a Sadie Nash board member for almost 8 years now. This year, we are especially proud of her commitment to supporting our Founders Fund, which provided critical emergency grants to Nashers during the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you, Elaine.
So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody at Sadie Nash for giving me this wonderful Petticoat Award and, reaching out to me in that way. I have been involved with Sadie Nash for several years now, and every year I feel like my commitment to Sadie Nash only grows deeper. And I think during this time of the pandemic, when we couldn't be together in person, strengthening those bonds of community with the rest of the board at Sadie Nash and Tanae and all the wonderful staff at Sadie Nash, and knowing that we were still connected to our Nashers and the Nashers to each other was more important than ever. I would just like to say thank you, particularly to the Nashers, for being you, for continuing to inspire me every day in a world that has sometimes seemed dark this year, with your action and your activism and your continued belief that this can be a better world, despite all the hardships in it. And if I had one thing to say to all of you, first of all, keep being you. You really do blow me away. I think that I wasn't even able to think or critique or speak about the world in the way that you, the Nashers, are until I was a much older woman, college at least, and only beginning then. So you do blow me away. But if I had two things to say to you beyond keep doing what you're doing, it's just take up all the space in the world that you want to take up. I think, for too long, women's voices and people of color's voices have been moved to the margins, and we just need to take the space back for our own. And you do that every day. Keep doing it. Shine beautiful and bold and bright, like I know you will. And take up that space with confidence. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. You are yourselves, and your confidence will carry you through. So thank you for being you, and keep being more of you.
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Elaine. And thanks once again to both of our Petticoat Award recipients, Gloria Edem and Elaine Golin. Most especially for your words to Nashers. We hear you and we thank you, seriously. An important part of our work at Sadie Nash involves connecting Nashers with powerful examples of the leadership of women and gender expansive people. Leaders whose identities reflect those of Nashers as well. These conversations aren't one-sided, but they're truly exchanges where Nashers and the leaders they connect with have an opportunity to discuss real questions and issues and learn from one another. It's for that reason that I am so excited for the next part of our program, where you will be hearing Nashers directly with our Leadership Honorees in conversation, sharing their wisdom and so much inspiration. I'm going to be passing over the mic to my Nasher siblings to introduce you to our two honorees, Dr. Kizzmekia S. Corbett, visionary scientist, hold on, wait for it, and lead designer of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. We're also going to be having the incredible Janelle Rodriguez, a storyteller and network news leader. Dr. Kizzmekia S. Corbett, here we go.
My name is Lorraine Ben. I'm in my senior year of high school, and in the future, I would like to pursue a career in medicine. I have been a part of the Sadie Nash family since the 8th grade, and it has been a wonderful experience that enabled me to learn about myself and the world around me. To me, being a Nasher means to empower yourself and others around you to not only be an agent of social change in the world, but in their own lives as well. And today I am beyond excited and honored to introduce Dr. Kizzmekia S. Corbett. Dr. Corbett is a research fellow and a scientific lead for the coronavirus vaccines and immunopathogenesis team at the National Institute of Health, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and the Vaccine Research Center. She received a BS in Biological Sciences with a secondary major in the sociology in 2008 from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Then she enrolled at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where she obtained her PhD in microbiology and immunology in 2014. A viral immunologist by training, Dr. Corbett uses her expertise to propel vaccine development for the pandemic preparedness. Dr. Corbett embodies what it means to be a Nasher, because not only does she make a great impact on the world, but she inspires and empowers young people, especially a woman of color like myself, to use my passion to make a positive impact in my community, no matter how big or small. Interviewing Dr. Corbett are my Nasher siblings, Chim Okafor and Jasmine Green. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jasmine, and I am a Nasher. I'm really excited to welcome Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett to Joy and Liberation this evening. Dr. Corbett, it is such an honor to be with you today.
Hello, I'm Chim, and just as Jasmine said, I'm incredibly excited and honored to be here as well. I can speak for all the Nashers all over New York City and North when I say that honoring you is really an honor for all of us. We want to get started with the question and how you came to do the work that you do today.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for inviting me and being amenable to my schedule, because I know that it can get a little bit hectic. And thank you for being, I guess, probably the volunteers for this interview. I know that it takes a lot of nerve to do things like this, especially when you are that age. And so thanks. You know, the work that I've come about right now almost happened serendipitously because of what is the framework of my career that I've been doing since I was about 16 years old. So I can kind of give you the brief version of that because I'm old now. So there's a lot of years into it. But when I was 16, I worked in a lab and I really loved science because I had never experienced science in a lab before, but it was so cool to be able to do that. And so I went off to college, and in college, I explored all types of research: pain receptors, bacteria, viruses, immunology, vaccine development, you name it, I did it, health disparities even. And I actually double majored in sociology and biology. And I went off then to get my PhD in microbiology and immunology, and I worked in a virus lab. And it was just so cool to see how my work was informing vaccine development, but that was for dengue virus. And so I realized that if I were going to do anything to change the world, then having this translational work was probably the best way to do that. And so then I went off and I got a job at the National Institutes of Health, where I am now. And I started to work on coronaviruses. And the work that we've been doing since I got here for about 6.5 years has been very fundamental biology. We try to understand how to make good vaccines based on what we know about the viruses within a given viral family. And for me, it's particularly the coronaviruses. And so it kind of, I think all things just kind of work together for the good, a mix of starting early combined with exploration, combined with the aha moments throughout my career.
Thank you for answering that question. We read that you were the leader of the preclinical team at NIH who had to quickly act to test the possible vaccine. What was it like to be a leader at that moment, especially being a Black woman in a field where Black people are often underrepresented?
You know, I actually get this question a lot, and I feel so bad that I didn't keep diary entries or something, because the frank truth is that I just don't remember, because what was happening in that moment was really driven by so much adrenaline and so much focus on what was the end goal
that it's hard to really remember what it was like emotionally. I know that it was very fast paced. I know that there were moments where I felt like there was no room for mistakes. I know that it was difficult to be kind of thrust in what is now the international spotlight, and to be dealing with that and media requests and all of that, combined with the fact that I still have a job. I think that sometimes people forget that we're still doing very basic biology, and I'm still, leading a team of scientists and vetting data and writing up reports and writing up manuscripts and all those things too. And so it was just a lot. I think I would be naive and maybe not even truthful if I didn't say that there wasn't some level of burden. I can even feel myself tensing up when I get emails now, and I'm like laying down and I hear my email buzz at like 2 or 3 a.m. and I'm like, whereas before I would have just thought, okay, you'll just check that in the morning. But now it's like, what just happened? Or what data just came through. And so I do have slight PTSD around that moment of just always having to be alert and always having to be kind of forward thinking, so much so that we were able to move the vaccine very quickly through the clinical trial trajectory. And our preclinical work informed, it wasn't just Moderna, actually, for, what was the eventual FDA approved phase 1 clinical trial, but multiple vaccines across the world. And still, actually, the preclinical data that we are still conducting is informing vaccines in like Taiwan, for example. And it's difficult to really wrap your mind around that, and that the experiments that you and your team are doing are instrumental to regulatory agencies saying yes or no, this vaccine can move forward. Being a Black woman is something that is, I think, a lot of my friends who are in whatever respected field. So I was just telling them, my best friend is like, JP Morgan, vice president of something, really doing her thing. I have, my siblings and, everybody in their respective fields who are kind of at the top of their game. But as a Black woman, you can be sometimes made to feel like you are there because someone else put you there, or because someone else afforded you that space at the table. And so really having to affirm yourself constantly while also having the world's burden on your shoulders is a situation that I hope that my journey and what I've been through prevents for future generations, for sure. I would not have my daughter go through the last year of my life by any means. And so I think that it's difficult. It's difficult because, and then it's even more difficult when you're thrust into the international spotlight. Because I think I was just telling you, like my nails and touching like the keyboard, which is like a joke, but it's true, right? There are parts of me that are, actually every single part of me is a Black woman before it is a scientist, while we're clear on that. And so showing up on Good Morning America with this hair is a thing, or my hoop earrings, for example, like, just the small things. There are moments when you start, you can question yourself if you really allow what is external to get to you, but it's important that you remember exactly who you are, and that whether you show up with big hair or straight hair, your data is the same, and your data is what is informing the world's vaccine portfolio. And even if it is a little bit of ego juice that you have to drink as a Black woman, nobody else is going to give you that affirmation unless you do.
Thank you so much for that answer to that question. And to be frankly honest, like, you were such an inspiration to me, specifically because I want to go into the medical field when I'm older, and to like help different folks in my community. And your work to develop the vaccine, but also to educate people, especially in the Black and Brown communities, is so inspirational to me. And my question is, how do you feel knowing that you're an inspiration and a role model to so many young Black women and women of color who look up to you as a leader?
It's humbling. It's so humbling. I have nieces and nephews, and to have them view me as who I am outwardly now and getting to see that kind of every day. And I get a lot of messages from, girls like you who say, oh my God, you're such an inspiration, or who are asking for advice around their career. And for me, it's humbling because I remember being there. And I remember actually looking back, I never actually had a Black woman to look up to in this space. I've had a Black man. I've had white men who are extreme allies of Black women by far. Like my boss, my immediate boss, Dr. Barney Graham. I mean, he's married to a Black woman, and his daughter is a Black woman, and he understands the struggle and advocates to the grave on our behalf. But I've actually never had a Black woman who I could say, I want to be that person. If I was going to be anything, I would want to be that person. I've had Black women who certainly inspire me in their own right, but I'm just honored to be in that position. And, furthermore, I think what anyone's goal is that, or I guess what anyone's goal should be, is that the generations that you bring behind you are better than you. And so if I can start here, then rather than you guys having to start here, you can meet me parallel, or I can bring you up to my level by reaching down, and you can eventually get beyond where I could have ever imagined. And I think that is the ancestral dream. And it is certainly on a generation to generation level, at least the way that I view it, the dream. Like people are like, I want to be you. And I'm like, girl, please be better. Pretty please. Number one, if there's scientists like you guys that come up and you're better than me, then I can retire early. And that's great. And you don't even the world doesn't even need me anymore because you guys are better.
I agree. I'm really looking forward to the future Black medical professionals in our field. And I think it's extremely needed because when you see someone that's looking like you, you're more likely to trust them. And to me, like looking at you and seeing that you created like a big part of the COVID-19 vaccinations, I was like, yeah, I trust this vaccine. I'm gonna take it. And to me, being a part of the Black community and losing family members due to COVID, I feel like it's so important that our community takes vaccines and like starts to move towards, getting rid of Corona. But due to past medical trauma, like the community is very stagnant and very much don't want to take it. So in what ways do you feel that public health professionals can earn the trust of the Black community to take the vaccine and other health interventions in the future?
Yeah, so I want to just step back for one thing that you said, and that you're really looking forward to the future of Black in medicine. But what is Black in anything was the beginning of the thing. We have always been here. We've always been scientists, and we've always been medical doctors, and we've always been engineers, and like all of these things. It's just that what is structurally getting a PhD to get to the point of where you can actually lead a team or become a principal investigator, those things are not built for us. But our ancestors built the Egyptian pyramids that frankly white men can't even figure out the math behind today. So the science is in our blood. The medicine is in our blood. It's just that what is society was not necessarily built for us. And that goes to say around the career perspective, and also around what are disparities in general health, education, and uptake as we think about why people don't necessarily accept these vaccines. And so my take is that, number one, it's no one's fault that there is not understanding around these vaccines, especially from the general population. I think that it is the fault of people like me who have been working on these things for so long, but largely and admittedly ignoring that we were in this lab working on it while people had no idea what was to come. And so the first thing is that we have to approach it with the onus of that and the onus of the empathy that now it's time to break it down and come back from what is scientific lead of the coronavirus team and regain the trust of the community by re-entering the community with an empathetic eye. And so that's kind of where I've sat. And I feel like I've always, it's not like this moment has necessarily proven that in any way, because I've always been a community educator. I've taught like sex ed at local health departments, Girl Scouts, all these things. But this moment really proves that what we were doing before just was not enough. And it's just time to step it up. And so I think that that's really it, just stepping into the empathy of it all and not really saying much, because we've already said enough. I think that what's important is that we just haven't listened, and that's what we need to do now.
A big part of Sadie Nash is supporting Nashers and using their voice to inspire others, especially their authentic voice, to make changes in ourselves and our community. So my question would be, what is a time where you had to use your voice and you've truly felt that that voice had an impact?
This is how much times that I can talk about. So I think that one thing, if not obvious, I'm very vocal, and I generally don't reserve what are my feelings when it comes, especially when the words that are coming out of my mouth or the actions that are to ensue benefit somebody else. And so, I mean, there are so many multiple actions, I mean, even the level of community involvement that I have is technically not under the NIH's primary mission, which is biomedical research. And so there were some hoops to jump through in order to be able to be so community facing, especially with what is my forward facing biomedical research as a leader of a team. And I was just willing to quit because it's just that important to me. And so those are just slight moments where, I mean, and I think that what it is around what it is around using one's voice. There are understandably times where having an advocate to be vocal for you is actually more beneficial than you being vocal for yourself. Because the research shows that if a Black woman complains, then, whatever, she woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or, just it's not oftentimes taken to heed. But when a white man complains for a Black woman, it is. And so I find that there are times when I am strategic. I use my voice and my stance. In that moment, it's clear. I lead a preclinical team, so I quit. And then what happens? And, there are some moments where, advocating for myself, I will, ask my boss if it's appropriate that he do it. And more oftentimes than not, it is.
The last question for this interview, by the way, thank you so much. You're going to be in this field for a while. So what other medical and health issues do you want to address? What other viruses do you want to kill? What are your future plans?
Well, let's talk about what my dream plans are. Like, if I were to retire as a person, what would I have wanted to say that I did? I would have wanted to say that I effectively cured the common cold. So that means, from a research perspective, I would like to focus on respiratory viruses that cause the common cold every year in flu season. I would like to say that I inspired young girls, young Black girls in particular. So I would like to have, a high school boarding academy in, every state in this country that really does this, teaches young girls how to use their voice, teaches them that being Black is beautiful, and then sets them out to take over the world. Because that's like my dream, is to have a the world run by a Black woman. But yeah, I think that those would be what would be my end goals. And everything that I need to do in the next, I guess, whatever, 30 years or 40 to get there is what I plan to do.
Thank you so much for dropping so many gems like today. Like, I loved it, and I'm taking away so many things from this conversation. And just thank you for taking out the time to, you know, pour out all of your intelligence and all of your knowledge. And just thank you for being here with us in total. So.
Hello, my name is Emily Mayorga, and I'm a Nasher board member at Sadie Nash. My journey with Sadie Nash started in the summer of 2020 when I was accepted into the Summer Action Project. I was inspired by the Black Lives Matter protests and wanted to educate myself on the ways I can inspire and advocate for others in my community. I learned so much during the summer, and I wanted to continue to grow as a person, so I applied for a constituent member position on the Sadie Nash Board of Directors. My experience on the board has fueled my curiosity and has allowed me to meet amazing women who aspire to create change. I have learned from Sadie Nash that if you have a strong community of people, anything is possible. Sadie Nash taught me that there is always something to learn and there is always room for change. Communication is the key to success when you have people willing to listen. We are excited to be awarding Janelle Rodriguez as the Leadership Honoree for this year's Joy and Liberation event. Janelle Rodriguez is NBC News Senior Vice President Editorial. Ms. Rodriguez earned her bachelor's degree in rhetoric from the University of California, Berkeley, and a Master of Fine Arts degree in film production from San Francisco State University. Janelle Rodriguez joined NBC News in January 2015. Before she was part of NBC, she served as Vice President of Programming for CNN. At CNN, she is known for directing and collaborating award-winning coverage of various breaking news events. Her revolutionary work never went unnoticed, leading her to receive many awards like the Daytime TV Impact Honoree in 2013, 3 Emmy Awards for election night coverage, Peabody Awards on the Gulf oil spill coverage during Hurricane Katrina, and many other awards that recognize her hard work and determination to share events around the world. Ms. Rodriguez will be in conversation with my Nasher siblings, Mash Sultana and Revival Ofalabi. Ms. Rodriguez, welcome to our event.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Revival Afalabi, and I'm a Nasher, most recently a part of Newark, New Jersey's Nash University. I'm super excited to be going to Amherst College this fall. My experience in Nash University with Sadie Nash has led me to be really interested in our criminal justice system. Henceforth, I want to be a lawyer. I'm really excited to be speaking to our Joy and Liberation honoree, Janelle Rodriguez, this evening.
Hi guys, my name is Mosh, and as Revival said, I'm incredibly excited and honored to be here as well. I am a junior at Brooklyn Technical High School, and this past summer, I participated in the Sadie Nash Summer Action Project, where I created a short documentary about the experience of women of my country, along with women of my family. And I think that media is a powerful tool to shape people's understanding of our world, and that people of color, especially women of color, should be able to tell their stories from their own perspectives. So going along that line of media, Janelle, our first question for you as a media producer and someone who tells lots of stories and what is happening in our world, how do you tell a story about someone who has an identity or experience that is different from yours? And being that 2020 was such a crazy year with all these insane headlines about COVID and elections and a lot of racial injustice, what do you think is the most important story you have told this year?
There's a lot of really important questions there. I'll start with the first one. I think almost every story you're going to tell if you become a journalist is a story that's not your own, right? The responsibility of a journalist really is to tell other people's stories, the story of our community or of our state or the country or the world, and share that story with other people. So the most important thing, first and foremost, is to listen and to hear other people's stories rather than putting your own preconceived notions about what's going on onto somebody else's story. Humility is also really important, because if you're a journalist, whether in a formal way or an informal way, and you're picking up a camera is a very powerful tool and a very powerful medium, and being humble in the way that you approach those stories. And then critical, I think, also is to rely on people from the community, within the community, to give you guidance. And that goes back to the humility and the listening part, not approaching stories as if you know what they're about or what the outcome is. Even if you're telling the story, you were saying you were doing a story of your own family, if you're telling the story of your mother or your auntie, that's not your story, right? And you probably come to it with your own sensibilities about what happened or what may happen or how they feel, but that goes back to the listening part. So very few stories really are our own stories, even if we're familiar with what we're talking about, if that makes sense. In terms of the most important story this year, I mean, it was incredible. 2020 by itself, and we're only a couple months into 2021, between COVID, the lockdowns, the George Floyd incident, which literally today we're covering the trial, right? And may have some conclusion in that, the riots, the election after the election, all the disinformation around the election, the Capitol riots, the impeachment trial, just to name a couple. So it was the past year has been, I've covered a lot of big historic events. This year probably tops all of those.
All right. So if you are doing the listening portion of your response, well, you are hearing all these stories of pain and trauma, like a lot of them. It never exceeds, as you just said, like 2020 was a year to beat, and 2020 and 2021 is coming up right there, trying to beat it. So as you're hearing all these stories of pain and trauma, how do you still take care of yourself as a person of color, even though all these painful, exhausting experiences and stories are coming from people of color?
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging is the short answer. But a couple things happen when you do this professionally for a living. It's almost like being a first responder or, an ambulance team, paramedic, that type of thing. At a certain point, from a professional point of view, you learn to kind of put your emotions aside right in the moment that things are happening so that you can approach things in a professional way and just do your job and be able to function. It's usually afterwards, and it could be that night, a week later, a month later, that it all starts to really sink in, what you just saw, what you just witnessed, what you just experienced. And like anything else or any other kind of trauma, you have to be real with yourself about that. And I think that's true in whatever job you go in. In Revival, you're talking about becoming a lawyer and social justice. Those folks deal very intimately with trauma and other people's trauma, right? And even though you're doing good, and I think the ability to have some power in the situation and being able to help the situation, I think helps you cope with the trauma, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I love how you were talking about listening to people's stories and people who maybe don't align with you, but being able to go outside of your own experiences and, being able to listen and tell their stories and do it in a very honoring them in a way and doing it the right way. Right. And I feel like that's exactly the way I approached my own project, right? Like combining education and activism with film, and how that was very monumental in my own interest in activism through media. So can you tell us a bit about what led you to the path of journalism and media? And despite pride, what other feelings come from the numerous accolades that you have accumulated over the years?
I started similar to the journey you're just starting on now. I actually went to film school. I got my master's in film production. I wanted to be a film director, but I was always just a natural news junkie who always loved to read the news, see what's going on in the world, be a participant in the world. And so one thing led to another. The production skills, and technically speaking, are similar in terms of, you're talking about, video and lighting and audio and those core technical skills. They're also both storytelling mediums. And I just found for myself that journalism and telling stories through video, to me, was more of a calling than telling fictional stories. So that's what started me down the path. I actually worked in news while I was in film school to help pay for film school, and then ended up just falling in love and never looked back.
Before you got your degree in film production, you did get a degree in rhetoric. That piece fit into the rest of your story?
Yeah, I actually get asked that one a lot. My parents still ask me what that was, because very few people, it's a little bit of an esoteric degree. So for those who don't know, rhetoric is really a combination of linguistics, philosophy, at its core, semiotics, if you know what that is. So it's a study of language and words and how words have power at its core, right? That's what rhetoric is about. If I knew then what I know now, I'd probably be too intimidated, because what kind of a job can you get with a rhetoric degree? The answer is almost zero. But I wanted to study what was interesting and fascinating to me, and this idea of how language and images have power really drew me. So that's why I ended up studying rhetoric. But I think to me, the biggest takeaway really was you have to follow your passion when you go to university. Like, going down a path because you think it's practical, or maybe your parents want to, or you think it's going to lead you in one direction or another, it doesn't always pan out that way. Like, you're going to work for a long time, whether you go to university or not, right? So doing what you're passionate about, whether it's a job that requires a college degree or a master's degree or doesn't require any of that, I find that the most successful people, and I mean that not in terms of financially successful, but just personally successful, happy, successful, it's because they followed their passion. Because we spend a lot of our times working. So having that passion, I think is helpful, and that's what I did.
I also wanted to ask, since Revival and I are young people, what is the message that you would give to your teenage self?
Oh, my teenage self was all over the place. I mean, I did study hard, but I was running around and getting in trouble and doing all kinds of things. But luckily, I always kept the academics front and center. So even though, if you ask my mom, she would tell you I was a little wild as a teenager. I did keep the academics front and center. So the education, I've always believed, even when I was, acting up and doing things I shouldn't have been doing, you always have your education for the rest of your life. No one can ever take that away from you, whether, again, it's in high school or college, or, you end up going beyond that. So keeping that, no matter what else is going on in your life and what other distractions come up, if you keep that education, that's the one thing you can control, especially as a teenager, right? You have control over that. You have the ability to figure out how much you're going to put yourself into that. You have that for the rest of your life. No one can ever take it away from you. And you really don't get a lot of opportunity to go back and do it again. I mean, you can really kind of, but this is a time. So just learn as much as you can, whether it's the core academics that you're learning in school or those things that you're passionate about. Because that's it. You'll have plenty of time to play and do other things. But if you can stay on track, and congratulations, Revival, on Amherst, right? That'll just take care of you for the next 20, 30 years.
Okay. So we've covered who you were as a young person. We covered who you are now, but what is a story that hasn't been told yet that you are interested in telling the world more about?
In terms of myself, or just the world?
In terms of, since we're on the topic of you, in terms of yourself, yeah.
I'm still writing the story of what it is to be a mother. My daughter's 7 years old, and it has made me humble once again in a different way. Like, all those things I really judged my own mom about, and she'll tell you I did. And I'm sure you guys are a little bit maybe judgy of your own moms at the moment. Like, when you become a mom, it's very humbling. And so the story I'm still writing for myself is what that journey is. And it really is making me think about my own relationship with my mom and some of her choices and some things that I really didn't understand or may not understand to this day, but I have a lot more compassion and empathy for her journey.
How would you describe a mile in your shoes, and what is interesting or unique about your experience?
Professionally or personally, or which?
Either one, but since you do want to tell that story about being a mother, maybe like personally would be really interesting to hear about.
Well, I'll combine the two, I guess, because there is the story of being a mom, which is, a full-time, all-consuming thing. But I am also someone who works really hard, right? And has spent a long time at my craft trying to excel at what I do, and get really good at what I do. So figuring out, for myself, which I think is also applicable for you guys as you begin your journey. You guys are just starting your journey, so you have a long way to go to figure out how you're going to balance those things. But working as hard at your professional life, working as hard, let me say that again, working as hard at your personal life is just as important as all the work you put into your school life and your later on professional life, right? Give yourself a little bit of both, intensely. You can't do everything all the time really well, right? So you have to pick on any given day or a week or a month which thing you're going to be great at. And maybe you can balance them both, but trying to figure out how to give to yourself as a whole person, to me, has been something I've had to learn over the years.
Okay, Janelle, so it sounds like you have it going on paper, in person, and in your personal life. So here at Sadie Nash, we really focus on feeling the connection between our Nash siblings. We really focus on the community being the key to centering us. So my question is to you is, who would you describe as your support system, the people that keep you centered and sane?
My support system, that's easy. There's a handful of women, a small handful of women that I went to university with. So we've known each other a long time. And those are the friends. They don't care what I'm doing at work. They don't care if I won an award or something like that. They don't care about any of that. They care about me. They will keep it real with me all the time. So if I'm not doing the right thing or taking care of myself in the right way, or I just need to be read just because it's one of those days, they will be the first ones to step up and do that. And that's really what friends are for, right? And that's your real support system, not just the people who like you when you're doing well, or the people who, want to go hang out with you when it's good times. It's like when you, all of that is stripped away. Who are those people who are right there beside you? And then also when you're not acting right, who are the people in your life who can really check you, but do it out of love, not to bring you down, not to embarrass you, but really love you enough to say, stop, pause, you need to be doing something else. Doesn't matter how many times we see each other or talk on the phone or not, or how much time goes by, the second we see each other again, it picks up. And that's my real core. And everybody needs that little group. And the thing about college is, you were about to enter college revival, and you, Mosh, right behind her, is like, when you're an adult, you don't get those intensive times together that you spend with people when you're in college or in groups like Sadie Nash. I mean, it's a really special time in your life, and the opportunity to form friendships that last you a lifetime. It happens less and less as you're an adult, because everyone's living their own lives and working, and you're not like living in a dorm or some crappy apartment with 5 girls who are all a mess. And right, those are really bonding experiences. So as you meet those people in your life year after year over the next couple of years, hold on to them and treat them well.
So we just wanted to thank you because honestly, as someone who is a young woman of color, it's really inspirational to be able to like sit down and speak to you about not just about your professional life and how you're literally telling these amazing stories and quite literally changing the world and how people see the world, but also in your personal life. And I feel like just speaking to you and having that intersection between your profession and your personal life and how your own identities and experiences have affected that is really joyous and really liberating to hear, like our event, right? So I just wanted to thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you guys. You guys are incredible. Thank you.
Wow. I'm sitting here and I've heard those conversations before, but every time I'm like, whew, is anyone else having that moment where you're like, this is exactly where I need to be right now and exactly what I need to be hearing? And I just want to send a huge shout out to my Nashers siblings who held it down with the interviews and the introductions. You all like really got to the heart of the matter. I'm so proud to for you all to be a part of my community and be my peers. The brilliance is incredible. So thank you, Lorraine, Emily, Revival, Cham, Jasmine, Mosh, you all are brilliant and so beautiful. And thank you for contributing that. I mean, I said it before, but these are really exchanges. You're really like learning from everyone involved. These conversations are so real, and I'm just glad we can all be here tonight for this. So some things that really stuck out to me. So let's rewind to Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, right? Who really put it all out there. I took notes, and one thing I wrote down is we have always been here. You know, we're overcoming the structural barriers to get those professional credentials and get that societal recognition we deserve. And sometimes it can feel like we're at the beginning, like this is where this narrative, this fight begins. But really, also, Dr. Corbett said medicine is in our blood. So this brilliance, this influence, it's our inheritance, and we're coming back to claim it. That's all this is. So thank you for that reminder that this is our birthright to be in these fields and to do what you're doing. And to Janelle Rodriguez, wow, you can't do everything all the time really well. I wish I could get that tattooed on my forehead, because when I tell you, especially as a young Black woman, there is this expectation we place upon ourselves sometimes to be excellent and do it on our own and not show how hard it is. So to just be reminded that it's okay to be seen trying, and it's okay to reach out and have those people in our support systems. Janelle also said, you will be working for a long time. That reminder of the importance of passion, that we have to follow our passions, that the labor will always be there, and choosing that choice is what differentiates your life's work from a life of work. And that reminder is so humbling, and it's so comforting when you're hearing it from someone who has an Emmy in the background. Okay, so we're going to move on. I just want to extend a huge heartfelt thank you to our honorees, Dr. Kizzmekia S. Corbett and Janelle Rodriguez, and also to those brilliant Nashers, my Nasher siblings, for holding it down there. So next, please welcome Sadie Nash Leadership Project's Executive Director, Tene A. Howard, sharing reflections on the work of Sadie Nash in the last year.
Hello, my name is Tene Howard, and I'm the Executive Director at Sadie Nash Leadership Project. Over the past 20 years, Sadie Nash's programs have strengthened, empowered, and equipped young women and gender-expansive youth of color as agents of change in their lives and in the world. Through our programming, we build community, critical consciousness, and college and career readiness for our participants, who we call Nashers. And now, along with the 5,500 Nashers and Nasher alumna from New York City and Newark, New Jersey, we are honored to count you as a part of our Nash fam. We didn't gather for joy and liberation in 2020, so let me tell you a bit about our year. In March, we said goodbye to our former ED, Chitra Iyer, and I started as the new executive director. With the COVID-19 pandemic creating upheaval, the world changed around us, and our team worked to ensure a robust system of support for Nashers, to hold space for one another, and to adapt to a new leader. As early as March 16th, with programs shifted to virtual platforms, we responded to Nashers' needs by expanding the Founders Fund, distributing over $50,000 in emergency grants to over 200 Nashers and their families. And we shifted our curriculum to focus more on mental health, wellness, and collective care. Sadie Nash Leadership Project Summer Institute was re-envisioned to focus on healing and action in mind. Late May also brought national uprisings for racial justice in response to the violence against Black and brown bodies by police. Nashers lifted up their clear voices and experiences of this moment of racial unrest in the Summer Action Project, bringing their visions of justice for our communities to fruition in written word, video, and other media. In 2020, we met the moment by showing up for Nashers, and we are proud of all that Nashers have done amidst the crisis and uncertainty that we all faced. We recognize and celebrate Nashers as leaders today and tomorrow. They are Black and brown young women and gender expansive youth who show us every day the true meaning of leadership. They are resilient, they are unapologetic, they are powerful. They will lead us to a brighter future. And they are the leaders we need to change our country and our world.
Thank you so much for that, Tanae, and thank you for your leadership. We'll get more into it later, but thank you for your leadership and everything that you have done for us Nashers as well. Sadie Nash Leadership Project cultivates the leaders we are looking for. They are called Nashers. They are resilient. They fight for their communities. They are unapologetic in leading movements forward. Nashers are unstoppable. They have the ideas, the tools, and the community to live lives in committed pursuit of joy and liberation for themselves and their communities. And I'm not just saying that because I was one. This is the reason that this year, for the first time, we are awarding an alumna with an Unstoppable Alumna Award. We are recognizing this dedication to forward movement and for coming back to help other Nashers along the way. We are so excited to introduce this year's first Unstoppable Alumna Award to Ayana Salam. Let me tell you a little bit about Ayana. She is Bronx-born, Harlem-bred, native New Yorker. Her experience at Sadie Nash Leadership Project spans a range of programming from 2013 to 2015, starting with Summer Institute to Community Action Placement Intern and Summer Empowerment Training. Ayana is an avid foodie and wants you to know that she can't wait for the world to open back up. She currently works at Lockheed Martin in supply chain management. And most recently, this is really powerful, Ayana founded a college scholarship program for fellow Nashers in memory of Nasher alum Shelly Ann Wheeler, and it has successfully raised over $2,500. Thank you, Ayana.
My name is Ayana Salam, my pronouns are she, her, hers, and this is what a leader looks like. I'm incredibly honored to have been awarded this year's Unstoppable Alumna Award. I first joined Sadie Nash in 2013 when I was a part of Summer Institute. I then had the chance to intern at Sadie Nash through CAP, and I returned for a second summer in 2015 for SET. Sadie Nash Leadership Project is the reason that I am the woman that I am today. It was a place where I found my voice and was reaffirmed that it is okay to be unapologetically me. It was revolutionary to have been introduced to things like activism, feminism, and respectability politics all while in high school. I learned so much about myself and was exposed to other unstoppable women such as Valpreet Kaur, Janet Mock, Issa Rae, and much more. Being the only girl with 4 brothers, I've always wanted a sister. Sadie Nash has blessed me with lifelong Nasher sisters and has allowed me to experience sisterhood in its greatest light. I cannot wait to watch Sadie Nash continue to grow and do trailblazing work within the community. I've always said that I wish Sadie Nash was a school, and perhaps one day it will be. I decided to give back to this wonderful organization by creating the Nasher Legacy Scholarship. This scholarship is in memory of my late Nasher sister, Shelly Ann Wheeler. Shelly was notorious for bringing in light, laughter, and poetry into any space that she encountered. It is my hope that this scholarship can pave the way for future leaders and young women to come.
Thank you so much, Ayana. We are so proud of you. I'm so proud to have you be one of my Nasher siblings and for your leadership. I really think when Tanae first told me about Ayana, she said, Treasure, she just reached out to us and said, I want to start a scholarship. And for me as a fellow young person that has also benefited from Sadie Nash, the impact that this has on our life is really like, it's beyond articulating. But to know that there was someone, a young person, taking initiative to give back to that community, not waiting 10 years, not waiting 15 years, and not waiting for anyone to ask, really was an inspiration to me. So Ayana, sending you so much love and admiration. The work Sadie Nash does is so important at this moment. I believe that, and I know you all do as well. Now that we are inspired and lifted, I'm really, really excited to welcome my dear mentor and Sadie Nash board member, Leslie Clark, to the screen to kick off a special opportunity for you all to support Sadie Nash.
Hi, Treasure. This has been truly incredible to be here to listen to our Nashers, to hear their conversations with our honorees. Incredible. Ayana, so inspiring to honor, our fellow Nasher sister, Shelly Ann, this way. Just incredible. So hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Clark, and I am a member of the board of directors at Sadie Nash. This is my first year as a board member, but I came to Sadie Nash in 2014 as a Summer Institute dean. And then I was a full-time staff member for 3 years, and I just never really left. And so first of all, I want to thank everyone who has already supported Sadie Nash by donating so far. With your support, we're nearing our event goal of raising $100,000. And we really hope that y'all can help us close this gap in the next few minutes. So on the screen, you will see our text to give information, and you can text Nash Joy to 44321, and you'll be taken to our donation website. You can just follow the instructions to give. So just be sure to have your credit card info handy so you can be ready as soon as you enter the giving platform. And thanks to the wonders of technology, you can also just put up your camera phone and scan that QR code, and it will also take you to the giving site. Every single donation counts. We are almost at $7,000. So please continue donating. Thanks already so far to Krista, to Greg, to Shital, to Steve, and to Jarrell for donating tonight. Someone said this earlier, but when you support Sadie Nash, you're really supporting Nashers and their leadership. So with all of that said, and while you all are donating, I would love to hear from you, Treasure. I have known you since you were in high school. When you joined the Ella Fellowship, you created your own social justice project while you were in that fellowship. And, actually in our end of the year, end of program survey in 2020, 95% of Nashers said that they, felt more confident in their own leadership as a result of their time with Sadie Nash. So I would love to hear from you about how was it for you being in high school, participating in the fellowship? How did that impact your relationship to leadership?
Whoa. I mean, I think that, so first of all, Leslie was my program director for the Ella Fellowship. So Leslie has known me since I was 16 years old, and I just turned 22 last week, and there is no love lost when I still tell you. So just to let you know what these relationships mean to us, I think that that was the most formative aspect of the Ella Fellowship for me. It was the people. Like, it really was the people. And that says a lot, because I joined the program to give products to menstruating homeless women, because I was actually experiencing displacement at the time I was in Ella, and it was really difficult for me to access those supplies. So I enrolled in Ella hoping that I could get resources to see that project further. But what I actually got was the education to just be an effective community member and change maker. And I was 16 at the time, and I was an advocate. I knew how to talk. I could tell you about it all, I thought, but I went like, Ella, you, Shan, my sisters, my Nasher siblings taught me, how to build infrastructure, and really gave me a humility and gave me a hunger and a confidence, knowing that I wasn't in that room alone. I wasn't conspiring, getting a master plan to overturn white supremacy. I was in community with people that were co-conspiring right there. And just being embedded in that community from such a young age, I continue to draw on everything I've learned there. I continue to be an organizer within the prison abolition space. I'm an organizer for Black and Pink New York City chapter, sending support to LGBTQ incarcerated people, and just keeping this work going that began with Sadie Nash. Yeah.
Truly. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you to folks who are donating. We see you, Cynthia. Yes, Yadi, Marissa, Mira, Sean. I think I saw Camille earlier. Thank you all so much for this. Something that you just mentioned, Treasure, about the community, right? Revival said this in the interview, right? Like one of the things that Sadie Nash most teaches us and is really central is that community is key to centering us. Like when she said that, I felt chills, right? Because that community is so important. And I would love to hear about what did you take from the community of Ella, and how have you taken it with you beyond Ella and beyond being at Sadie Nash? Because you've been in so many different spaces that are so not Sadie Nash. Like, how do you take that with you? And I just want to keep shouting out a few people before you start. Brittany, Sean, again, thank you all. And Treasure, please tell us a little bit about that.
Keep donating. Text Nash Joy to 44321. And here's why. Part of the reason I could even do the Ella Fellowship was because you all provided stipends to us. And you all made, what is the quote? Make the revolution irresistible. And it wasn't just the money, it wasn't just the resources, but knowing that there were people and institutions that wanted to make it easy for me to come into this work and help lift me up in that. That's something I continue to do with my organizing and everything. I make it easy for people to do what we have to do. We have to make the revolution irresistible in whatever way possible. That's what makes me want to get these resources to where they need to go. So then we can get to the real work, right? So continue to support Sadie Nash by texting Nash Joy to 44321. Start a chain. Ask everybody, say match it. You give $2, tell them to pass it on and keep it going. That's what this evening is for. Leslie, thank you so much for being here. Someone saw it said in the chat from dean to board member, period. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for being, for just being an asset to this community.
Thank you, Treasure. I'm so proud of you. So thank you. I am just so glad that we got to share space tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Leslie. Thank you so much. We are next going to welcome Sadie Nash Leadership Project's board co-chairs, Stephanie Gromeg and Pooja Joshi O'Hanlon, with a message about 20 years of Sadie Nash.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pooja Joshi O'Hanlon, and I'm co-chair of the Sadie Nash Leadership Project Board of Directors.
My name is Stephanie Gromeg, and I'm also co-chair along with Pooja. I'm so thankful to be here with you all as we celebrate our 2021 Evening of Joy and Liberation.
I joined the Sadie Nash board because I wanted to dedicate my time and resources to the leadership of young women and gender expansive youth of color in New York City and Newark, New Jersey.
I love being a part of this community where we're creating supportive space for young people to pursue their joy and amplify their leadership. Every young person deserves space that centers their experience, where they can grow into themselves. More than ever, our world needs the love and clarity that Nashers bring, and we're here to walk beside them.
We are proud to share that over the next year, Sadie Nash Leadership Project will celebrate 20 years of supporting young women and gender expansive youth in growing their leadership.
When SNLP's founder, Cecilia Clark, started Sadie Nash in the summer of 2002, she couldn't have known what an incredible impact we would be celebrating 20 years later.
Whether it's through our Ella program, where Nashers learn tools of organizing and create their own social justice projects, or Sisterhood Academy, where Nashers discuss how identity and activism connect with one another,
or our Summer Institute, where Nashers come together in community to explore their leadership and power. The common thread through all of our programs is that Nashers are building skills, strength, and receiving the support needed to live in committed pursuit of joy and liberation.
We hope that you will keep in touch with us and join the Sadie Nash board and our entire Nash fam community as we celebrate 20 years of SNLP all year long.
Thank you.
Hey, Treasure, how are you doing?
I'm in here. I'm good.
You are in here. You are. You have done an excellent, excellent job this evening representing Sadie Nash. We're so thankful for you. I am a little bit on the verge of tears because I'm just so I'm so thankful for your spirit and your energy and you and this evening and Nashers in our community that's out here in the chat. Just has been exactly what I needed. So so thank you for that. And I am so excited about the ways in which over the next year we will get to celebrate all of these amazing and wonderful pieces of Sadie Nash. As Pooja and Steph just said, we'll be going into 20 years of Sadie Nash. And I said it in my short clip that is over 5,500 Nashers, Nasher alumna, young women and gender expansive folks who are out in this world creating shifts, creating changes, seismic ones, and creating space for us to really move into and be our full authentic selves. And I couldn't be happier to be with Sadie Nash in this way at this moment. I want to encourage everyone out there to continue to text to give. The link will stay open, and we so appreciate you all getting us so close to our goal for this particular Joy and Liberation fundraiser, to be able to continue to support our programs and to be present for Nashers in the way that they need and want us to be. I want to also encourage you to hit us up on social media, as the young people say, on our Instagram, our LinkedIn, our Facebook. Sadie Nash Leadership Project is our handle, and we share lots of great information. And we share also, it's a really important way for our community to be able to connect with one another. And it's a really great way for you all to stay connected to us, especially over this next year.
Yes, go follow on Insta. Help us get it up, because this sort of programming, the institutions like Sadie Nash need to be amplified and need that visibility, not just for everybody else to affirm the work that's happening here, but so that the people who need it can find it. So go amplify this work and go follow on social media. Tanae, thank you, and so much love to you for reaching out and giving me the honor to MC this night. I didn't know what was gonna go down. I was like, look, this Zoom techie.
You stay ready, Treasure, and that's one of the things I love about you.
I am just so grateful to have been here with you all tonight, and I hope that you all really understand, even if you don't know it now, we were all meant to be right here, and there was something here in this programming for each and every person that's watching. So let's take that right back into the world and spread the gospel that Sadie Nash is where it's at. Yeah, this was a beautiful evening. I'm so happy to just be home. That's what it feels like. Have a great rest of your evening, and keep donating.
Thank you to everyone. We're so thankful for y'all, and have a wonderful, wonderful night. Treasure, I'll see you on the other side.
I'll see you on the other side. Is there music?